All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you all for attending our incredible webinar today. My name's Chaz Tedesco. I'm the COO of CallTools, and we have Greg Dobak here, the CEO of Standard Information.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for joining, Greg. I know we've been looking to get this together for a little bit of time now, and I'm so happy we got it going. And the name and the topic of the day is Fall of One-to-One and Why Data is King in 2025. And this one's got me really excited. Greg, I think you were the mastermind of the topic and the title. I've been in love with it ever since. So it's a pleasure to have you today.
Me too, Noam. Thanks for having us on Standard Information and CallTools. We've, it's been an exciting thing we got going on, and I'm looking forward to kind of run through all this stuff today. With everything that's changed with one-to-one and all the new tools coming online, I think that, it's an interesting time to go through everything for sure. It's definitely a crazy time.
Yeah, it's been an incredible and a crazy at times 2025 since the beginning of the year, I feel like. And, we're talking about the one-to-one ruling that was going to go live. I think it was last month, January. And, the whole industry prepared. I think, Greg, I saw you at a Lead Generation World earlier this month, earlier in January, and that was like the big topic on the floor, like the elephant in the room. Things are changing. I think all of the keynotes, I think every single keynote at that event was talking about what's changing, how it's going to affect different industries and all that stuff. And, there was some big news that came out right as it was about to go live the night before. And that is that it was overturned, right? So I think it took everyone a little bit by surprise. I think some people kind of felt that was going to happen, right, Greg? I think there was murmurs of, maybe it's not going to happen, right?
Yeah, we definitely heard things like that. And then we were actually involved with some of the lawsuits in like the IMC group.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we were actually pretty deep in it. We'd written a brief, and so they brought us in, and so their lawyers were kind of keeping us up to date on that whole thing. But it's still, it came down to Friday, the day before implementation on Monday. And it wasn't the FCC did grant that stay, but then the whole thing, became completely moot when the 11th Circuit overturned it.
Crazy, yeah.
It killed it dead in the water. And, I read the opinion myself, and, it's not coming back, at least not in this form. The FCC could definitely.
Anything's possible, right? Anything can be reintroduced or changed. But I think you were sharing with me yesterday, Greg, as we were preparing for the event, that there's a reason why maybe it may never come back. And I think it was because of some level. I'll let you speak to it more intelligently, but there was some reason why they never had the jurisdiction, maybe the right or wrong word, to even rule on this type of a thing. But please, I'll let you speak to it much more intelligently than I can.
Yeah. So, there's nothing saying the FCC can't come back and try and regulate in a different manner. But the way that the 11th Circuit struck this down, they said the FCC overstepped. They did not have the authority to regulate in this manner at all. And so they struck the one-to-one side and the logically and topically related, which people haven't been kind of talking about as much. And so the way they threw out the opinion, makes it extremely difficult for the FCC to try and revive this. It's not like a simple, hey, we go back, make some edits to this. It would have to be completely restarted. And the way that they were originally going about, the court has already ruled, was overstepping their authority to begin with. And so I really don't see one-to-one ever coming back. I think the FCC, if they try and regulate, they will pick a completely different avenue.
Different paths and then different altogether.
Yeah.
So I guess really what that means is that nothing has really changed in the industry, right? There's still your best practices. There's still, things you want to do as a stand-up, lead buyer and lead seller that, allow you to have compliant data, right? To call in a meaningful way or to follow up within a meaningful way. And, having the proper verbiage. So again, all that stuff has already been in place for quite some time. And, that's not changing. So again, there's still importance in, your practices and how you handle things. But I think that, this allowed for maybe things not to get so tight where maybe, certain businesses that are smaller that couldn't, navigate the change won't be impacted as much. And And for that, I think a lot of people are thankful.
Yeah, and that's what we saw is like, the people who were really having the hardest time with this were our small clients. These were small, home improvement guys, installers. They don't really understand the whole regulatory landscape to begin with. And, they were just scared of catching a lawsuit, something like that. And so they kind of pulled out of the industry. And so, it was really kind of bringing down everything for a while. So I think that it will definitely bring back a lot of people to the table. A lot of people are going to get back into, marketing, data, which I'm really bullish on data in 2025. I think this brings things up, not only just with people coming back in that were kind of scared away from this like regulation and having to figure out how to comply with it, but also, I think there's a lot of other factors at play that are really going to make 2025.
Yeah, there's people that, again, I don't think everyone fully understand. I mean, being in the industry, I had a really good understanding of what was going to change and happen. But I think the general person that was just hearing about this was very confused. They were scared. Oh, we got to stop. We got to stop everything we're doing. We're going to pause. And that was why it was kind of during January, you kind of saw that, like, people were scaling down. They were nervous. But that being said, standard information, I think your product, your solution, you had something equipped to handle the change had it gone live. And now that it's not, I think it actually makes your platform even more powerful because you have some incredible ping post technology, and if you could share a little bit about that, and then we'll get into the data aspect. But to your point, Greg, I think that data is king, right? And there's a lot we're going to cover here. We're going to get into the value-driven aspect of what we want to share here, about how to work data efficiently and effectively. But before we do that, let's just talk about, ping post as a whole. Sure. What is that type of technology and your incredible product in that space?
Yeah, absolutely. So for some people, ping post is, what they live, breathe, and do every single day. And for a lot of companies who are getting leads, maybe they've never even heard of this kind of technology, but to kind of cater to both sides, I'll kind of run through it really quickly. So ping post is an auction-based lead distribution method. And so our lead distribution platform can take in leads, distribute them to your reps as normal, can send it to CallTools. So you can do the outbound dial, you can get those people on the phone.
Sure.
And then the ping post part of the platform allows you to run a real-time auction. So if you are a, home improvement guy, you're a roofer, you want to buy roofing leads in Florida, you can get connected to, and there's thousands of different lead providers in the US who are generating roofing leads every day. And so you can basically bid in real time on those. So when somebody puts in a roofing request, they say, hey, I live in Miami, Florida. I need, to set up an appointment to see, somebody for a new roof. A portion of that data will come to our platform. It'll say, hey, we have somebody in Miami in the zip code who's looking for a new roof. They just requested 2 seconds ago. We'll run an auction. And so all the different roofers can say like, hey, yes, I would like to service that request. They submit a bid. It's all done automatically. The highest bid or however that system is routed, you can rank it. You can apply weights to installers you like more. But at the end of the day, basically the winning bidder is going to get the ability to contact that consumer on an exclusive basis. And so they'll be able to service that request, which is a great tool for a lot of smaller businesses or even larger businesses who need to get data in. They need those leads. They want real-time leads, someone who just requested. And then, and again, why I love jumping on with you guys is like the very first thing they need to do is be able to get them on the phone, and speed to lead is so crucial in our industry.
Oh, yeah.
When that comes in, we have an existing integration with CallTools. And so that data can be passed over to the dialer. That can go out and, from when the consumer submitted that request for that roofing quote, you can have them on the phone in literal seconds.
That's incredible. Thank you, Greg. And I think I'm happy we started there, right? Because that the origination of any sales process or any, workflow is the leads, right? So how the leads come in, the ability to, from a seller aspect, which I love about, your technology, Greg, be able to manage your different clients, manage your different publishers and providers, and then distribute that lead effectively and quickly is incredible. And like Greg said, right, if you're out there and you're not familiar with ping post and you're a buyer and you're buying leads, it's something that I would ask your vendors about, because if they do have that type of solution, there's a good chance that you can put in some additional filters or different things in there to make sure that the quality of leads that you are getting are fully up to something that is meaningful for you, that you can convert, and that's going to work really well. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, we've also seen a lot of our clients really just appreciate knowing how much data is out there, right? So when you start running in a ping post, get a copy, you don't get to see the actual name of the consumer, but you can see how many requests are coming in per day. So if you're servicing, the Tennessee region or something, you can see, how many people requested in Tennessee, how many are you bidding on, how often are you winning, are you paying the right price for leads? Are you overpaying? Are you underpaying? What places would you like to get more data from? Which is really crucial. I mean, as you get further downstream, as I'm sure you see like all the time, that's what is the lifeblood of the sales organization, is like, how can you get these leads in, and are you able to close them and get a good ROI on that spend?
And and it's something you touched on for me too, that triggered my brain, is the variety, right? The fact that you're working with different providers that are providing stuff. You could, share your disposition reports, share your data back with your lead provider, and they'll know which channels are working well and which aren't, versus just a one-to-one relationship where maybe somebody's running some ads for you and pushing you leads, and you're paying a set price. You're really getting a bigger breadth of, not just volume, but quality, measurements as well. And Greg, you touched on it, and I wasn't going to talk too much about CallTools. I want to kind of keep it general, and I'll just use CallTools as the context, but the principles I think are the same. But speed to lead, right? So now that lead comes through on a web form, it's going to post to a system like CallTools, right? And something I think we do very well that you touched on is having the ability to contact that lead very quickly. I think the stat, and I might age, my understanding, because I know the numbers and the metrics change all the time, but the stat that I always go to in my head is, if you don't get a lead on the phone within the first 5 minutes of it entering your system, if it's a true real-time lead, right, which is what we're talking about, your chances of getting them on the phone on your first outbound attempt or your first phone call drops by 500%. Yep. So getting on the phone quickly and within that first 5-minute window is critical. And, with CallTools, there's different ways you could do that. You can have it, by I think our standard is 3 seconds. So if you post to CallTools in the right way, they're getting an outbound call within 3 seconds of us receiving that record. And there's different ways to do that. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's what we see too. I think there's actually a pretty famous MIT study. Our industry is a little under researched, but there's a speed to lead study that MIT did, and they found exactly that, like that the time of delay to get to that person once they made a request, the chances of you getting a hold of them drops so fast. And I think in that study, they looked at, maybe it was the first 5 minutes or first something like that, but the
metrics change all the time. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to keep up with it. Yeah,
exactly. We see it like, down, we think 30 seconds is too long. It really is just like this knife that cuts straight down. And so if you're waiting 5 minutes, we think that's way too long. We're seeing,
that's an eternity
drop off in, the first 10 seconds. People really have a short attention span.
Sure. And it's the attention span, it's the availability, right? Yep. If they were just there filling out a form, odds are they're still sitting at their desk or their computer or their phone. And it's the wow factor too. When you get to people that quick, it's almost like they're like, whoa, hey, I did just fill out that form. Wow, you guys are fast, and they're kind of like floored at, your ability to get to them that quickly. So that's the speed to lead piece. I think that's critical. And thank you for sharing that. I didn't know about those studies. I'm going to look at that afterwards. And maybe too, we could share some of that. If you have a link to that, Greg, we can share that afterwards with the audience. And I think that once we talk about speed to lead, that's the next part. So it's the lead delivery and mechanisms through a system of a ping post, like a standard information. It's the speed to lead of that initial phone call, right? With a system like CallTools being able to make that quick phone call, whatever system you guys are using, same concepts apply. And now we're going to start to talk about, I think, is the follow-up cadence, right? Your ability to automate your follow-up, your ability to get enough touches on that lead to get the conversions that you're looking for. And I think that, if you're in a structure, not judging any organizations out there, but if you're in a structure where you're getting these real-time leads and you're giving them to an agent or a rep, and expecting them to do the follow-up on their own, I think that even the most skilled salesperson, follow-up person, whatever your title is or role is that's working that data in the world, will not be able to get to it in the efficient manner that, maybe will get you the best result, right? So having the ability to systematically define, okay, I called this person, what was my call disposition or what happened on that call? Did I get them on the phone? Did they say they weren't interested? Was there a voicemail? All those different factors. And then having rules in place to put your next follow-up attempt, right? So if I call this person, they don't answer their phone, it's a real-time hot lead. Maybe I'll call them again in 5 minutes, again in 20 minutes later, again an hour later, right? Those first couple of days, you might have, a higher frequency of outreach. You may trickle in, a text message, an email. There's different things that you can do to stay in front of this person. And then maybe as the time goes on and, you get to day 3, day 4, you haven't had a successful conversation or connect, maybe you kind of slow down your follow-up. But here's, I think, a key piece. Greg, I want to hear your take on this.
Yeah.
I don't think that you ever truly stop following up with this person unless it hits like a dead road, right? DNC request. They've already purchased the service from a competitor and they're no longer in the market, which, I could argue that maybe those people are good for you 6 months or a year later, depending on what your product or service is. Or they're disqualified for some reason. I'm thinking maybe in like solar, your roof or you're a mobile home, like that's a reason you hit like a dead block at the end of the road. But in a previous life, I did a lot of work in the solar industry. The amount of times we would convert a lead a year later on call attempt, 42, was incredible, right? And that just shows that data is never truly dead. It's just about how you leverage it and how you kind of have workflows to continuously touch it. And the last thing, I'll hand it back to you, Greg, to chime in, is that with the follow-up, and I'm saying that you're going to follow up, maybe a year into the future. What I'm not saying is, I don't want to confuse everybody, is that you're calling them 5 times a day and making their phone explode. That's not what I'm saying, but just constantly touching them over time.
Yeah. I think it's like the important part, it's always like, what is good for the consumer? How can we, they made a service request, they're looking for this thing. How can you make it easy, present it to them? They might have a busy life. If they put in a request though, you want to make sure that you're getting that, information to them, which also kind of ties back to, the title of our presentation today, why is data king? I think calls, like inbound calls, I think that was 2024. I think it was the year, inbound calls really took off, but I think data is back in king because, you get one, if that person hangs up or, you can't close them on that first call, you might not have the TCPA, authority to call them back. You might not, be able to do that with data. You have that request. They've indicated that they want this service. If you get them, it goes to voicemail. You can give them another shot. You can, make sure that you're getting that consumer the information that they need so they can get the service that they're looking for. And, if you're doing it ethically and, legally, I think you can a number of times and really maximize the likelihood of converting that consumer into a client. And again, it comes down to having a good cadence, tools in place to both get the data, but then also following up, to make sure that that client gets the information that they're looking for.
Amazing. Yeah. And then I guess to take it full circle, we talked kind of about ping post, getting the lead, speed to lead, follow-up cadences, having something set in place. Again, I didn't touch on it, and again, I'll go back to CallTools. I'm trying not to go too deep into our system, but it's what I know and what I'm here to share about. There is ways where you should segment your data, understand, what's connecting at the best rate, what's converting at the best rates, segmenting your lists. I see so many of our clients that, maybe just have really good leads. They're calling everything in the exact same pattern, in the exact same way. And they're not really maximizing. They're like, oh, we're doing okay. We're converting our data, but how can you analyze, which lead source is giving you the best contact rate, the best conversion rate, and then prioritizing that in a meaningful way where all of a sudden, now everything trickles down from that, or you're setting more appointments, you're getting more sales. So,
exactly.
Having a mechanism to do that in CallTools, we have something called live filters, where you can very quickly say, give me everyone who had this previous call disposition in this state and these 3 zip codes that have called less than 5 times. In real time, you're going to get a list that you can follow up on. And the best part is our reporting is you could benchmark that, right? So you could see for this lead source, this data segment, my connection rate was 20%, my conversion rate was 2%, and this is great, versus this other lead source or this other data segment, my connection rate was 5%, my conversion rate was 0.5%, so you can really see all that real time on your KPIs.
Which is really critical. I mean, we see the same thing, and that's where that kind of ties back into, the data systems and getting that data is when you have that reporting and you can say, okay, hey, this source or these attributes convert at a much higher rate, it's worth our time to spend both money and effort on this data. With the PingPost platform and, just a general lead buying platform, you can start targeting that. You can bid up if you're using the PingPost features to say like, hey, with these attributes, when we see this data come in as a potential, we're going to bid up. We want this data. We know it converts well. We're looking at the analytics and CallTools or whatever platform we're using. We close these. We want more of it. And then also, a big thing is like, the data that doesn't work. What's not converting well, let's cut that out of the flow. Let's not get that coming in. And so we see, the clients that have really the best success are the ones that master kind of that art of optimization. They're looking at the tools, they're taking advantage of that analytics, and then they're getting more really, really interested customers in the flow at the right price to make it work on the back end so that their sales organization is really successful there.
That's incredible. Yeah, and that's everything, right? Measuring your data, and the more real time you can get it, the more you can make, decisions intraday or intra-hour, to adjust those things and kind of see what's going on, and also hold your lead vendors accountable too. So if for some reason you're converting at a certain percentage and then you see that that's dropped, at the very least it opens up a conversation. Hey guys, here's what we saw. There was a drop here. Many times for clients that are using a PingPost like a standard information system, they'll be able to say, oh, you know what, we turned on this new traffic source. As soon as we did that, we saw the decline. We're going to shut them off and we'll recalibrate for you.
Yeah.
So doing these things and measuring them, it shouldn't be hard. I think with a platform like Standard Information paired with CallTools, you're going to get really good reporting and everything at your fingertips and be able to really see like never before what's going on, within your call center, your sales team, your business, to continue to work that data effectively and to make the proper decisions to, work it down the line, right? Like I said, the example, a year later, that data is not dead, but, maybe you're only going to call it once every, period versus, multiple times a day, so I think, Greg, anything else? I think we had an exciting announcement that you were going to bring on with us here.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, super excited to jump on with you today and kind of run through everything. And then, we do have a bit of a first for the industry, and I'm excited we get to announce it with you and today. Yeah. And so Standard Information is going to be actually in conjunction with CallTools supporting PingPost appointments. And so I think this will be kind of a game changer in the industry. So this is going to allow people, if you have a call center using CallTools is already supporting this, we have the integration. So if you have somebody, on the phone, you want to set an appointment with them, you can check our system. And then if you have multiple backend buyers who, maybe if it's a solar request, maybe multiple solar installers, you can see who is available to book an appointment with, and then how much they want that appointment. So you can set a dollar value on that appointment, and then you can check in real time while you're on with the consumer. We'll pass back the calendar link. So the appointment setter can book the right client's calendar on the fly. So it's not, you don't necessarily have to be calling just for ABC Solar. You can get somebody on the phone, check, okay, maybe they've moved, maybe they're in a different zip code. Who do we have who can take an appointment in this zip code? You check with the system.
Amazing. It is so unique and amazing. You got me so excited, Greg, with that one.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big one, because then you have all these, service providers who I think this is going to be really helpful for. They're going to get appointments directly on there. And then you have people, using CallTools, or, people who are running these call center operations, where now if they get somebody, they can on the fly change, who's going to get that appointment. Maybe before that was just a disqualified customer, but now, hey, we can check. We do have somebody in Tennessee. We thought this was going to be, an Arkansas setup, but here we go.
That's amazing. And I think what's so cool about it that's unique is that you're getting their availability, right? So it's a higher quality, opportunity for multiple different, companies and endpoints, where you're going to be able to plug it in when their agents or when their salespeople are available to service that appointment.
Yep.
Get the availability, be able to plug it right in. With the way we have it set up with CallTools, we can even pre-populate with the Calendly link or something, all those fields. So for your agent, they just hit a button, it checks standard information, pulls it back, and then you're able to schedule that appointment. So it's super clean and super unique. I haven't seen anything like it, and coming from the solar space in a previous life, the second you shared it, Greg, my light bulb went off. I'm like, wow, that's genius, so.
Yeah, I know. I'm really excited to put it into action and to get this out in the wild. And so I think that's gonna be an exciting thing. And we're super excited to work with CallTools on this, and that you guys are supporting this right out of the gate. So it will be very cool.
Awesome. Well, let's take a look. I do see we have a bunch of you out in the audience right now.
Yeah.
Let's see. I did see some questions come in earlier. I think we may have addressed them already, but let's just touch on them again to make sure we get to everybody.
Sure.
I saw the first one was asking, how does the new Ping Post product know the team's availability? And I think you just touched on that, Greg, where it's going to check your system and then pull it back. But please, you're the expert.
Yeah. So how it's going to work is, if you guys are familiar with Ping Post for Leads, it's kind of a similar mechanism. So while the agent's on the phone with the consumer, you're going to get the, confirm the zip code, confirm what product they're looking for. And then they will, through CallTools, hit our API. We'll check all the backend buyers, and then we'll have all of the calendars there, and then we'll return back the calendar with the availability.
So you store the calendar for the buyer, and then that's what you're going to return. That's awesome. That's really cool.
So the buyers will plug in their calendar. They'll plug in like the information they want on this, and so they get set up. And then our system will dynamically serve up the calendar that makes the most sense.
That's awesome. Wow. I wish we had that, back in another life I was in. But I think you have a lot of success with that one. I'm very excited for you, and we'll be watching very closely if there's any way we could support and, help with that. I think that the integration is going to be very powerful. So success on that one. The next one I had here, will one-to-one come back in another form? I think, Greg, you're more qualified to touch on that one than I.
Yeah. I mean, I am an attorney. I can't give out legal advice. So, take this with a grain of salt.
Get the disclaimer out there quickly.
Yeah. But that being said, after going through this opinion, kind of touched on earlier, I really don't think that it's going to come back in another form. I think that there's definitely there's always a possibility. And I think, with this getting shut down, that, the chances of FCC or another organization wanting to regulate the industry is definitely still there. But I really don't see that coming back in the form of one-to-one. I think if an agency wants to regulate the industry, they will come up with something brand new. We'll have some new name for it, and it will take another form completely. So I think the one-to-one is pretty much dead in the water.
In the way they were proposing it. And
exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. I think prior to us connecting, getting ready for the event here, I had thought it was just on pause, So you brought a lot of clarity to me that, nope, this is it. It's stopped for now fully. And it was good to know.
Yeah, it was a little confusing because it was paused technically for 4 hours.
Okay.
And so the FCC did a voluntary stay. And so before the 11th Circuit ruled on it, the FCC did say, like, hey, we're gonna push this back either 1 year or until the 11th Circuit rules on this. And then the 11th Circuit released their opinion literally hours after that.
So it was all really close. That makes
it was, which really was confusing because then people were posting at that first one like, oh, hey, it's stayed, it's just
right.
paused. And then people saw that as the first headline when really, a couple hours later, the 11th Circuit really did kill it in its entirety. And so it's dead. And so the stay then went away because the ruling itself is gone.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, again, I think it's a great thing. That's why the data just is going to become that much more powerful and that much more accessible too.
Yep.
Not that things were going to be so hard and gory, haddock on live, but I just think it opens up that data pool. Like you said earlier, it's for that small construction company. They can't pay top dollar and compete with all the big, enterprise level, multi-million-dollar companies in their region. But maybe they do have a budget for, some shared leads and opportunities, or they do have the ability to get some age data. That really allows them to stay in the marketplace and be competitive and be able to do those things. So thank you. A lot of insight there, Greg. I think a lot of people are going to be happy to hear your take on this. And, I think you're bringing a lot of clarity to the topic.
I think it just also clears up a little bit. I mean, even, all the points you just said too, but I think also just, a lot of people, I think, were just scared by the compliance requirements of this, that their name had to be displayed on the landing page, that, they had and they were on the hook, right? So it really, I think
the record keeping was just the tracking of everything.
Exactly. It was the logistics that were really the.
I could have seen a lot of it where, maybe a bad actor from the pursuant side could have got in there hey, you're doing everything great, you got it all good, but one phone number, one lead, could have gotten through, and that's it, and you would have had no leg to stand on, So not to say that couldn't still happen in today's environment, certainly could, but I think it was giving potential bad actors more ammo to pursue companies. So that's cool. Thank you on that one, Greg. I see the last question right now, and I think they're still coming in, so there's time. CallTools is one directed, I guess, at me.
Okay.
Does CallTools support inbound call routing? I guess the short answer of that would be yes. We do have the ability to support any type of inbound use case that you have. As I always say that we have the standard VoIP inbound capabilities, right? IVR, press 1 for sales, 2 for support, 3 for billing. We have ring groups. We have time frames, so you can route calls based on being open or being closed. Mm-hmm. We also have, you could route to a voicemail. You could forward phone calls to an external destination. That could be a cell phone, a desk phone. And something really cool that we do have as well is called dynamic inbound routing or conditional inbound call routing. And what that'll do is as the call comes into the system, if you do have a contact in our database that has information on it, you can filter it. So you could say, if this is coming in and on the address field of the state of that record, it's in the state of Florida, well, I can route that to my Florida queue, right? If that call comes in off the same phone number, but it's somebody from New Jersey, it can go to the New Jersey queue, right? And it doesn't need to be state specific. It could be maybe you've got, I think there's something a lot of businesses might deal with. Let's say you have a sales team and a support team, right? And a customer needs some help. They're calling into the support team. And for some reason, maybe they can't get somebody on the phone. Well, I know the sales team's always going to answer. So let me call in and get sales, even though maybe they can't help me. I can at least get a live body on the phone. You could write something that says, if this is an existing customer, always route them to the support team so that the sales line is open and those people can support new customers. So there's a lot of use cases. Lead source, if it comes in from this lead source and somebody calls in, route it to this group of agents. If it comes in from this other lead source. So it's really cool to be able to have, one phone number or one inbound route, but then have it branch out and go wherever you want it to based on those different fields. So great question. Yeah, I know people always think CallTools outbound, the power and predictive dialer. We also have the preview dialer as well, but we also have a lot of large inbound centers as well that are handling, many thousands or tens of thousands of inbound calls a day. So awesome. I think that's what we've got. Oh, wait, there is one more just popped in. The standard information have a direct integration with CallTools. I think we did touch on that, Greg, but I could let you share again.
Yep, we do. I mean, so you can pipe the data directly to CallTools. Again, I kind of touched on kind of towards the beginning that speed to lead is so important. So it's all handled via API. It's not like anybody's ever manually dealing with this data. Come in, you buy it, it's in CallTools, and the consumer is on the phone, within literal seconds.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's amazing, and that's something we have a lot of pride in too. That we're able to do that and deliver that, and And customers that hadn't done that previously and see how the systems integrate and work are always floored. I know Greg and I get a lot of feedback that they're really excited about how things are working, and they've never been able to touch their data like this before. So let's bring it full circle, right? Cool. We came in. I think, Greg, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're a very busy guy, and I appreciate you being here. But yeah, full of one-to-one and why data is king in 2025, right? So we touched on the one-to-one ruling at length. And this recording will become available. We'll be posting it across numerous different social channels. We're actually live on numerous different social channels right now. So you may be tuning in and watching live. But we covered that. We talked about data, right, and data management, speed to lead, why it's so important to get to your leads fast, your follow-up cadence, having an automated kind of cadence and rules set in place to guarantee you're going to be touching the leads as frequently and at the times that you want to be touching them. And the KPIs a little bit we touched on, right? Reporting, being able to see what is happening with your data, analyzing it, and then being able to share it with the proper vendors or parties to ensure that you're getting the best results.
Yes, that optimization.
And anything else final, Greg, that you think we didn't touch on, we can leave the audience with for value?
I mean, I think just kind of moving forward, I have really high hopes for this year. I think, I'm really feeling very bullish on everything 2025. I think we have a lot of interesting things coming into play. I think that, partnerships like this are really going to be driving the industry forward. So I see that it's going to be a good time to be in data, to be in calls. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what 2025 brings.
Right on. Well, we're excited. Anyone who happens to attend this event or to see it in the future, or just, talk to myself or Greg, we do have some cool stuff we can do for standard information customers that are new to CallTools in terms of pricing and things that we can set up specially for you. So please make sure that if you're coming through the door and Greg, standard information, let us know, and we'll make sure you're taken care of.
Yep. And same on the other side as well. So we always like to promote this partnership. It's a good one. So, yeah. Well, Chaz, thanks again for having me on here. This was fantastic, and looking forward to the next one.
Awesome. Well, if you're looking to contact either Greg or myself, I'll go ahead and share. I've actually had my information up here in the corner. I like being able to do this once in a while.
Right there.
But I'll put up our information here, and you could certainly feel free to reach out directly to either Greg or myself. We would love to share with you about each of our technologies. I think we're fairly educated about each other's technologies as well. So please feel free to ask. And we hope you got some massive value out of our session here today.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Everyone have a fantastic rest of your day, and we will be in touch soon. Thank you.
All right, thanks again so much. Bye, guys.